All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to take a journey, a little trip inside your database to unlock some of its hidden power. We're talking about turning those endless, repetitive clicks into smart, automated code. This is all about finally making your data work for you, and not the other way around.
So, does this sound familiar? You open up your database, you click the same button, run the exact same report, punch in the same kind of data, over and over and over again. It's like a digital Groundhog Day, right? But what if I told you there's a way to completely break that cycle?
I mean, let's be honest. Doing all that stuff by hand isn't just boring, it's super inefficient, and frankly, it's a recipe for disaster. Every single time you click manually, there's a chance for a slip-up, a typo, an error, and all that time just adds up. We're here to fix that.
Okay, our first stop is with our most helpful, most accessible little assistant, the macro. Seriously, just think of a macro as a simple, loyal butler for your database. It's there to perform tasks whenever you ask.
So what is it really? Well, a macro is basically a digital recipe. You write down the steps just one time, like open this form, filter for that data, print that report, and from that moment on, you just tell it to go, and it follows that recipe perfectly, every single time. No mistakes.
Now, macros come in two main flavors. You've got your standalone macro, which is kind of like a recipe you keep in a cookbook. It's its own separate thing, and you can run it whenever you feel like it. But then you have an embedded macro. This one is attached directly to something, like a print invoice button. You click the button, and the recipe just runs. The automation is built right in. And you know what? Building one is way simpler than you might think. It really just boils down to three things. First, you add an action. Open report. Second, you give it the details. We call them arguments, like which report to open. And third, you just test it out. That's it. Action, arguments, test. Simple.
Okay, let's level up. If a regular macro is your friendly butler, then a data macro, well, that's the head of security. This thing is a serious rule enforcer, and it works right at the source of your data. The big difference here is where it lives. A data macro is built directly inside a data table. So it acts like a bouncer at a nightclub door. It checks every single piece of data that tries to get in, get changed, or leave. It's enforcing your business logic automatically, making sure your data is clean from the second it's created.
So, when do you need this bouncer? A data macro is perfect for validating data, especially when the rule needs to compare two or more fields. For instance, you could make a rule that says, hey, the ship date can't be earlier than the order date. A data macro enforces that rule no matter what, all the time. Pretty cool, huh?
So, we've met the butlers and the bouncers. But here's the thing. Behind all those friendly menus, all the drag and drop stuff, your database is speaking a powerful, kind of secret language. And I think it's about time we learned a few words. Just think about the last time you built a query in Access. You probably dragged some tables onto a screen, you double-clicked the fields you wanted, you typed some criteria into a grid. It's all very visual, right? Very point and click.
Well, here's the big reveal. Every single time you do that, Access is in the background translating all of your clicks and drags into a formal programming language. Yep, surprise, you've been a coder this whole time, and you probably didn't even know it.
This is what that language looks like. It's called SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. Now, I know it might look a little intense at first glance, but this is the universal grammar spoken by pretty much every professional database on the entire planet. And here's why that is so important. When you learn even a little bit of SQL inside Access, you're picking up a skill that you can take with you to massive systems, like SQL Server or Oracle, you name it. You're not just learning an Access trick, you're learning the fundamental language of data itself.
So let's tie all of this together. We've seen how everything from a simple little button to a complex report is really part of a bigger spectrum, a journey that takes us from those simple clicks all the way to powerful, precise code.
Let's break down that SQL statement we saw. It's really built on four basic ideas. Select tells the database what you want to see. From tells it where to go find it. Where filters the data down to only what you need. And order by, well, that just sorts the results. See, what, where, filter, and sort. It's just a set of instructions.
And get this, you can even take that SQL code and paste it directly into a form or a report. Why would you do that? Well, instead of basing your report on a separate query that someone could accidentally delete, the report now has its own instructions built right in. It becomes totally self-contained, kind of bulletproof.
And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? Whether you're building a simple macro to save yourself a few clicks, a data macro to protect your information's integrity, or writing a line of SQL to pull the exact data you need, the goal is always the same. It's about commanding your database with precision, saving you time, and making sure everything is accurate.
So, I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own day-to-day work on the computer, whether it's in a database or not. That one report you run every single morning, that email you have to type out every week, what part of your digital life is just screaming out for its own little digital recipe?